He has served as a state legislator, county auditor, county commissioner, lieutenant governor, 10 years as mayor of Cleveland, and 8 years as governor of Ohio. And he has served in the U.S. Senate since 1999. Of all his accomplishments, Senator Voinovich counts his family, his wife Janet, his 3 children, and his 7 grandchildren as his greatest gifts in life. If you would, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Senator George Voinovich. Senator?
Good afternoon. I'm really pleased to be here. Frankly, I didn't know whether I'd be here or not because when you're a senator, you never know where you're going to be. But we were told at the beginning of the week that we would have votes up until 10 o'clock on Friday, and if that had been the case, I wouldn't be here today. Well, they announced last night that we weren't going to have any votes, so here I am. And I've looked forward to speaking to you, and Howard, I appreciate the invite, and Mayor, thank you for the nice introduction. I have been close to this organization over the years, particularly when I was mayor of the city of Cleveland and county commissioner. Recently I met with the Northeast Ohio city managers and mayors, and then I met with the Cuyahoga County mayors and managers representatives, and I said, you know, through transportation and that, by you all getting together with NOACA, you could have a tremendous influence on the economic vitality of the region. So I just want you to know that I'm very proud of what you've all been able to accomplish. I thought today what I'd do is kind of go over some things that I'm working on. You know, I'm at the end, and my wife Janet says, tell them if they ask, or anybody, she said, first, you're not seeking a 3rd term. 2, you're not retiring. And number 3, you're leaving your options open. That's all you can say. And so what we're trying to do is to take this last period of time and instead of winding down, wind up. And so we've taken on what I refer to as legacy projects that I think I can get done before I leave the United States Senate. And I got to tell you, I'm working harder today than I ever worked in my life. If any of you have been there, you know you got a timeline, and then you look at what can I get done during this period of time, and then you start really prioritizing it. And I've looked at things that they've got to be bipartisan, bicameral. Hopefully the president's in favor of it, and all the special interest groups out there that want it to happen or not happen or on board. So you kind of get them all together to make it happen. But the first thing I think that we need to understand is, folks, we've got to get the American people to understand that the glass is half full, not half empty. We've got to restore people's confidence in the future. I spoke to the Harvard Club 2 weeks ago here in town, business group, and I just told them, all of you guys in this room and a couple of women can afford to buy an automobile. Go out and buy it. We got to start buying things. I was yesterday with the Tier 1 suppliers, and they're trying to get money on the receivables that are owed them by the major auto companies, Ford, Chrysler, and GM. And I said, the biggest problem we have is we got to get people to start buying automobiles. I mean, we can do all we can for you. And the other thing is we got to get the banks to start providing credit, okay? We give them all this TARP money. What are they doing with the money? I don't know about you. If you look at what you're getting now on a CD, it's like 0.5%. If you're lucky, you get 0.5%. And the banks are charging like 5% interest on it. Something's not there. So I suggested, and they thought it was a good idea. I said, why don't you get together with the bankers and start talking about this thing? You know, and we'll have Treasury put a little pressure on some of them. You know, we're giving you the TARP money. When are you going to start lending some money? So that's important. Real estate values, we've got to bring those back. And I'm working with a neighborhood stabilization program in all the cities throughout the state of Ohio. We've got to restore real estate values. Enhance America's competitiveness, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. And also, something really important, folks, provide a safety net and opportunities to those families and individuals who've been swept up in our nation's economic tornado. We just can't let them fall through the cracks and see their families break up. The first thing that we're doing is trying to work on, and it's called SAFE, Saving America's Future Economy. To make a long story short, When I came to the Senate, our debt was $5.6 trillion. By the end of fiscal year 2009, it will be $12.7 trillion. Last year, our deficit was the biggest we ever had, $459 billion. That's we borrowed money to pay for the operation of government. This year, according to CBO, it will be over $2 trillion. Hear me? We're borrowing $2 trillion to run our government in 2009. And by 2040, spending on Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security will crowd out all discretionary spending. People come to me and they say, Senator, we want money for this, we want money. I just ask them. I said, is what you want me to do? First of all, I ask them, is it a federal responsibility? But then I'll say to them, you know, is it worth our borrowing the money so that my kids and grandchildren and maybe my grandchildren pay for it, or yours? And then they start to, because people don't understand the critical situation that we find ourselves. Next week, the 30-year T-bills are going to be out, and you just watch where that interest rate's popping up. And so Joe Lieberman and I, on a bipartisan basis, have put together a thing real quick, this 20-member committee. If 13 of them agree on tax reform and entitlement reform, it gets expedited procedure, like we do with the BRAC process, you know, with the military facilities, and the Congress is going to either have to vote up or down. We have to give the world some confidence that we are going to get our fiscal house in order. And I won't go into the details of it, but I do have a website, and the speech I gave on the floor of the Senate this week is on that website. I quoted in that article an article from the Washington Post. It says, no laughing matter why the U.S. needs to get serious about long-term budget deficits. And it goes on to say that Mr. Obama and Congress have done nothing so far to deliver on the President's pledge of entitlement reform. But if the Fed chairman, he was talking by Bernanke, had said those things, they'd have been absolutely right. And even the New York Times yesterday came out, headline, for U.S. a sea of perilous red ink, years in the making. And the laughing matter that the Post referred to was that our Secretary of the Treasury was over in China trying to reassure them, Geithner, that things were fine. Don't worry about your money. The Chinese, by the way, have invested over $1 trillion in our debt. And so he met with a group of graduate students and was telling them things were fine, and said Mr. Geithner was met with laughter when he told a group of Chinese students that their country's assets were very safe in Washington. So I referred to this in the speech. It's like the emperor has no clothes. You remember that? My kids, we have a book of virtues about that. We just have to do something about it. And I've been working on it for 5 years, and it's not all Mr. Obama's or President Obama's. I'm a Republican, but George Bush never mentioned once in 8 years in his State of the Union addresses the national debt. Never once. Never once. And it's a serious matter, and all of you, regardless of where you are, if you're looking for the federal government, we've got to get this thing taken care of, folks. Another thing that I'm working on that I'm really interested in getting your opinion, another I call legacy issue, is the climate change. I will say publicly that I was the quarterback on killing the Lieberman-Warner climate change bill in the last session of Congress. That bill would have resulted in a 50% increase in the cost of natural gas, 29% in gasoline, and 89% in the price of wholesale electricity. And disposable income losses would have been about $3,000 per household, about 140,000 job losses, and that was going to be by the year 2020 is when they set some of the caps. And out of the people that voted, there were only 32 senators that actually voted for that bill. But I'm working right now with 16 Democrats. I'm trying to figure out if we can come up with something that makes sense.